A bored child threw a firecracker into the wrong yard. It exploded near the secret basement of a mafia boss. No police, no mercy, just a summer of brutal discipline. Summer broke him, rebuilt him, and changed him forever. Let's go back a week. Enjoy. The city after the rain smells of asphalt, wet earth, and a slight chill. The streetlights come on, each one reflected in the puddles, like a second inverted sun. Ivy walks quickly, her dark shoes beating a precise rhythm on the wet cobblestones. She holds Liam's hand tightly. He's 9, and his legs can barely keep up with her long strides. They walk through the garden district. There are no flashy storefronts, loud music, or hustle and bustle here. Just tall buildings behind fences, neatly trimmed trees, and perfect silence. Ivy knows this route by heart. Twice a week she walks here to get to work. But tonight is special. They're rushing to the festival, to the main square, where the lights are already lit and music is playing. Liam hasn't been able to sit still all day. Ivy adjusts her bag slightly on her shoulder. Her back is tired from the long day, but she sees her son bounce as he walks and smiles. His joy energizes her. She looks at his jacket, the hood slightly damp from the light drizzle, and thinks about how he's been looking forward to this evening. They walk around a large puddle in the middle of the road. The water is black and still, like a mirror in which the lights of the streetlights are drowning. Liam's hand is in his jacket pocket. His fingers are wrapped around a smooth cardboard cylinder. A party popper. He bought it this afternoon with his savings, without telling his mother. It's bright red, with yellow stars, and a long white string. He clutches the cracker in his palm. He can't wait to pull that string. He imagines the loud pop, the tight roll of colored paper bursting out of the tube and shooting up into a cloud of confetti. He wonders where to do it. Right under the garland? Or maybe when they make a wish by the big tree? Mom will probably be a little scared, but then she'll laugh. He wants to see her laugh. He takes his hand out of his pocket to adjust his hood, and for a second, Ivy sees the edge of a piece of red cardboard. "What do you have there?" she asks, but there's no severity in her voice, only mild curiosity. "A surprise," Liam answers quickly, and puts his hand back in his pocket. "For the party!" Ivy shakes her head, but the corners of her lips turn up. She doesn't approve of these firecrackers. They're too loud. But today, they can make an exception. Liam feels her silent permission, and his insides tremble with anticipation. He walks more confidently, no longer looking at his feet. He looks ahead to the end of the street, where the usual noisy city begins, where it's brighter and more cheerful. They've almost reached the end of the quiet street when Ivy notices headlights ahead. There's more than one. 3 pairs. They move slowly, not at all like normal cars. They float in silence, as if never touching the wet asphalt. Ivy instinctively slows her pace. Her hand tightens on Liam's. The cars draw closer. They are large, black vehicles with dark windows. They pull up to the tall, wrought iron gates of one of the largest houses in the garden. The gates begin to open silently, even before the motorcade comes to a stop. The first car stops. 2 people emerge simultaneously. They are dressed in dark suits, without any flashy details. Their movements are precise and synchronized. They scan the street. Their gazes flicker over Ivy and Lim, linger for a second, and then quickly move away. There's no menace in their postures, only absolute attentiveness. They look at the rooftops, at the windows of the neighboring houses, at the shadows between the trees. Liam stops too, his interest in the clapperboard momentarily waning. He sees these people, these cars. It's like a scene from a movie. He freezes, watching. The doors of the second, middle-sized car open. The driver gets out first. He walks around the car and opens the back door. Another man steps out. He is short, dressed in an impeccable dark gray suit. His face is illuminated by the soft light of a street lamp. It is calm and motionless. He says something to his companion without turning his head. His voice is quiet, even, and his words are inaudible from a distance. Ivy feels a chill run down her spine. She knows who this man is. She's never seen him this close, but she knows. He's the owner of the house. The man she sometimes cleans for. The one whose name is mentioned with special, obsequious attention in her contract and in the conversations of the other cleaners. Min-jun. She wants to leave, to walk past, to pretend she's not there, but her feet feel rooted to the wet cobblestones. She sees Min-jun nod in response to his man's words and takes a step away from the car toward the open gate. At that moment, Liam stirs behind her. His hand fumbles in his jacket pocket again. Kim-jun is short, but he holds himself very straight. His dark gray suit fits perfectly, without a wrinkle. He doesn't glance around like his men. He simply stares straight ahead at the open gate of his house. His face is calm, expressionless. It simply is, like a stone in a stream bed. The two men on either side of him freeze, half turned toward him. They don't look at him directly. Their gazes are directed outward, toward the street, but their entire attention is focused on him. They wait, waiting for a step, a word, a glance. One of them quietly mutters something into his sleeve. Kim Jun nods slightly. It's an almost imperceptible movement. And that's enough. One of the men immediately moves forward, past the gate, to check the route. The other remains nearby, his eyes continuing to scan the space. Ivy forces herself to take a step. She wants to pass, to lead Liam away, but her movement attracts attention. Kim Jun turns his head. His eyes meet hers for just a second. There is no threat in them, no curiosity, nothing. Simply a statement of fact. Here is a woman and a child. Does he recognize her? Perhaps. He nods to her, the same way he nodded to his man. Single and barely noticeable. It is not a greeting. It is a sign. I saw you. You are here. Then he looks at Liam. His gaze glides over the boy's face, over his jacket, and lingers on the pocket where his hand rests. Liam instinctively clutches the firecracker in his pocket. Kim Jun's gaze is expressionless. But under that gaze, Liam feels his own curiosity and excitement fade, replaced by an incomprehensible shyness. The man turns away and takes the first step toward the gate. The air begins to move again. Liam's room is small, with one window. It doesn't look out onto the street, but onto the courtyard between their house and the neighboring building. The neighboring house is just as old, but larger. It seems empty. No one lives in the part of it visible from Liam's window. One evening, while doing his homework, Liam hears the sound of cars in the yard. Not a normal sound, but the same as that one outside. Quiet but distinct. He goes to the window. He's not allowed to stick his head out. His mother says not to. But he can look. Two black cars pull into the courtyard. They stop at the blank wall of the neighboring house. Several people get out of the cars. They are dressed in dark, comfortable clothes, not suits. They say something, but the words are inaudible. One of them approaches a section of the wall, and it suddenly slides aside. It's not a door, but an entire section of wall, disguised as brick. Behind it lies a black opening. The men begin unloading boxes from the trunks. The boxes are medium-sized, sturdy, and unmarked. They carefully pass them back and forth and carry them into the darkened doorway. Everything happens quickly and quietly. No one laughs or shouts, only whispers and the rustling of clothes. Liam presses his forehead against the cool glass. He doesn't understand what's in the boxes, but the process itself seems important and secret. He feels like he's watching something he shouldn't see. One of the men below suddenly lifts his head and looks straight up at the windows. Liam instinctively jumps away from the windowsill and presses himself against the wall. His heart is pounding. He stands there for a long moment, afraid to move. Then he cautiously peers out again. The yard is empty. There are no cars. The section of wall is still there, as if nothing had happened. Only fresh tire tracks on the wet asphalt are visible on the ground. Liam's cousin Marcus is coming to his birthday party. He's already 16. He's tall, wears baggy hoodies, and speaks slowly, drawlingly. Liam adores him. Marcus brings a gift, a carelessly wrapped shoebox, sealed with tape. "This is for you, kiddo. Just don't show Mommy," he says, winking. When Mom comes into the kitchen to bring the cake, Liam rips off the tape. Inside the box, on soft paper, are firecrackers. They're nothing like his red party popper. They're larger, in thick green, red, and silver paper tubes. They have fuses, not strings, and stickers that say Super Pop and Triple Shot. Liam picks one up. It's heavier than he expected. It smells of dust and something strange, chemical. "These are better than your stupid firecrackers," Marcus says. "You light them on fire. Bang! A real explosion. You can throw them into cans, into puddles. Fire and smoke." Liam looks at the firecrackers. They seem simultaneously terrifying and very grown up. A gift from his cool brother. He imagines throwing one into a large puddle in the yard. Flash, roar, a shower of spray. "Thanks," he says quietly. "Just be careful," Marcus says suddenly, seriously. "And yes, to no one. It's our secret." Ivy walks in with the cake. Liam quickly closes the lid of the box and slides it under the bed. He feels a strange excitement. He now has two secrets. One old one, about the house next door and the boxes. And now a new one, about this box under the bed. He catches Marcus's eye. and Marcus winks again. Liam smiles back, but his fingers still remember the rough, thick paper of the firecracker and its unusual weight. Liam's mother, Amira, found the box the next day. She was dusting under the bed and kicked it. She took it out, placed it on the table, and opened the lid. Her face turned stony. Liam froze in the doorway, seeing the box in her hands. "What is this?" Amira asked. Her voice was quiet and even, without raising its tone. It was worse than screaming. "A gift from Marcus," Liam muttered, looking at the floor. "I see whose gift it is," Amira said. She took one of the green tubes and twirled it in her fingers. "Do you know what this is?" Liam was silent. "This is not a toy, Liam. This is very dangerous. This can cause harm. You can hurt yourself, or someone else." She spoke slowly, choosing her words carefully. "And this can get us into big trouble. The police. We can be evicted. Do you understand?" Liam nodded without raising his head. He felt his insides twist with shame and fear. His mother didn't scream, but her calm, stern voice was more frightening than any scream. "You and I live here alone," Amira continued. "We have no room for mistakes. None. Not a single one. These things are mistakes. A big one. Do you hear me?" "Yes, Mom." Amira looked at the firecrackers again. Then, with a decisive movement, she closed the box. She took it and left the room. Liam heard the cabinet under the sink open in the kitchen, the lid of the trash can slam shut, then the sound of objects falling into it. She hadn't just hidden them, she had thrown them away. She returned to the room. Her hands were empty. "I don't want to see anything like that again, and I don't want to hear you even think about them. Your brother acted irresponsibly. I'll talk to his mother. That's the end of it." She placed her hand on his shoulder. Her palm was warm and firm. "You and I must be more careful than anyone. We can't attract attention. Neither good nor bad. We just quietly go our own way. Remember that." A week passed. Liam tried not to think about the box. The thought of it brought a sick feeling to his stomach, the memory of his mother's stern voice. He was sitting in his room, laying out math problem cards. From the window, as always, he could see the blank end of the neighboring house and a patch of empty yard. It was quiet, and then he heard laughter. The laughter was ringing, pure, childish. It sounded very close, as if coming from behind the wall of his own room. But that was impossible. It was the wall of the neighboring house. Liam became wary. He put the cards aside and went to the window. The courtyard was empty. The laughter came again. Now Liam understood where it was coming from. It wasn't coming from the street, but from above. He looked up. The windows in the neighboring house on his level were boarded up, but higher up, on the third floor, one window was open. It was a small dormer window on the slope of the roof. Laughter came from there, and also a voice, a girl's. "Catch me!" "No, you lied!" someone shouted, and laughed again. Liam pressed his forehead against the glass, trying to see anything in the darkness of that window. He saw nothing, but laughter came from within. Someone lived there, someone who laughed and played, in that huge, silent, terrifying house. His own loneliness suddenly became more acute. Lessons, a quiet room, mom at work, forbidden to go outside alone. And there, behind the wall, someone was playing. A boy his own age? He listened for a long time, but there was no more laughter. Only once did he hear the distant sound of music, some light melody, and then the window slammed shut. Now, looking at the house next door, Liam thought about more than just black cars and boxes. He thought about that laugh, and he really wanted to know who it belonged to. Liam had an old soccer ball. It was rubber, battered, and a little deflated. He'd sometimes kick it down the hallway of their small apartment when his mother wasn't looking. One Saturday, while Amira was doing extra cleaning, she allowed him to go into the courtyard of their own house. "Just don't go outside the gate. Play here, on the playground." The playground was tiny, paved, with one old bench. Liam started kicking the ball against the wall of his house, imagining he was saving the deciding penalty. Kick, rebound, control, kick again. He got carried away. One particularly powerful kick landed at an awkward angle. The ball bounced off the wall, flew over the low fence separating their yard from the alley between the houses, and rolled straight toward the neighboring building. Liam rushed to the fence. He saw the ball, bouncing on the uneven stones, rolling down a narrow passage and disappearing around the corner. Around the corner was the same secluded yard where the black cars had pulled up. His heart sank. He knew the prohibition. We can't attract attention. None. We just quietly go our own way. A ball in that yard, that was the real deal. He looked around. There was no one in their yard. He climbed over the fence. It was easy, and walked carefully down the passage. The stones under his feet were slippery with moisture. He walked to the corner and peered out. His ball lay in the middle of the empty yard, right next to the tire tracks. A bright patch of dirty orange rubber on the gray asphalt. Liam took a deep breath. He needed to get it quickly and run. He took 3 long strides, bent down, and snatched the ball. "Stop!" a calm male voice said directly above him. Liam straightened up, clutching the ball to his chest. A man stood against the wall of the house, in the shadows where the hidden door had been, not in a suit, but in a dark jacket and simple trousers. He didn't look angry, he simply stared. His arms hung at his sides. "Where are you going?" the man asked. "My ball, say, rolled away," Liam said quietly. The man looked at the ball, then at Liam. He nodded towards the passageway the boy had come from. "Go back, and don't come back here. This is private property. Understood?" "Understood," Liam whispered. "Go!" Liam turned and almost ran back to the doorway. He felt the man's gaze on his back. He climbed over the fence, found himself in his yard, and leaned his back against the cold wall of the house, trying to catch his breath. The ball was safe, but the feeling that he had crossed some invisible, yet crucial line didn't go away. His heart pounded against his ribs. A few days later, Liam finds himself at the fence again. He hadn't planned it. He's simply standing and looking at the passage between the houses. In his hands is that same ball. He doesn't dare kick it. He just holds it. The thought of that courtyard won't let go. He remembers the look of the man in the shadows. But even more, he remembers the laughter from the window. Who's there? And what's that door in the wall? He just needs to take a look. Just once. Unnoticed. He places the ball on the ground and carefully climbs over the fence. This time, he doesn't walk, but creeps, pressing himself against the wall of his house. He reaches the corner and freezes. The yard is empty. No cars, no people. The section of wall is closed and looks like ordinary brickwork. And then he sees another door. A real door. It's built into the foundation of the house, a few meters from the hidden entrance. It's wooden, old, painted a dark green that almost blends in with the dirt and shadow. And it's ajar, just slightly. A narrow strip of darkness is visible between the door and the frame. Liam freezes. His heart starts pounding loudly in his temples. This door shouldn't be open. He knows it. Perhaps someone came in or left and didn't close it tightly. He looks around. No one. Silence. He takes 2 steps forward, crossing the open courtyard. He stops a meter from the door. From there comes the smell of dampness, old stone, and something else, sweet and strange. He hears a distant sound, not laughter, not voices, something like a hum, low even, like an engine running somewhere deep, and also a weak beam of light from below, from under the door. It falls on the bottom step of the stone staircase leading down. Liam reaches out. He almost touches the rough painted wood. His fingers tremble. He needs to slide the door another centimeter to peer in. But at that moment, somewhere inside, deep in the basement, a metallic clang is heard. The sound of a heavy object. Liam jumps back as if burned. Fear finally outweighs curiosity. He turns and runs back to the doorway. He doesn't look back. He leaps over the fence, grabs the ball, and runs into the entrance of his building. Only there, on the landing, does he stop, resting his forehead against the cool tiles, trying to catch his breath. The image of the half-open green door and that streak of mysterious darkness burns before his eyes. After school, Liam doesn't go home, but to a small park 2 blocks from their house. His mother is working late, and he has an hour. He sits on a bench and watches the pigeons. His thoughts return to that door, to the hum, to the light on the step, and then to the box his mother threw out, to the heavy weight of the firecracker in his hand, to Marcus's words, "Bang!" A real explosion. There's an old auto repair shop next to the park. Behind it is a pile of junk, rusty bumpers, tires, some crates. Local kids sometimes climb around there. Liam decides to pop in. Just because. For nothing better to do. He steps around a pile of scrap metal. Almost immediately, he stumbles upon a cardboard juice box hidden under the torn door of a Lada. The box is wet, but intact. Liam pushes the door open with his foot. There are firecrackers in the box. They're not new, not in their pretty wrappers. They're different, worn. It's clear they were collected here in a variety of colors. Some are thin bombs, some are thicker. They're clearly someone's secret stash. Someone hid them here and probably forgot about them. Liam looks around. The park is empty. The workshop is quiet. He bends down and examines the treasure. His fingers remember that strange feeling again. His mother's prohibition rings in his head like a clear, precise bell. But here, in this box, lies something else. Possibility, power. A way to make that bang, he imagined. He slowly reaches out. He picks up one firecracker. It's not the biggest, but it's the most interesting looking. Thick, wrapped in silver paper with 2 fuses. He clutches it in his fist. The paper is rough and cold. He quickly puts it in his jacket pocket. He looks at the box again. Then he turns away abruptly and walks away without looking back. His right hand clutches the cold silver cylinder in his pocket. A mixture of fear and wild, forbidden excitement rages inside him. He has made his choice. That evening, Liam sits doing his homework. The firecracker lies under his mattress, at the very head of his bed. He knows it's there. This knowledge makes the desk with its textbooks, homework, and the dull evening lamplight seem unbearably dim. The plan is developing gradually, piece by piece. He doesn't want to just throw a firecracker into a puddle. That's for kids, and it's dangerous. Someone might see him, hear him, tell his mother. He needs a place, secluded, where the noise won't attract the adult's attention, where he can observe the outcome in safety. The thought comes to mind. That courtyard. A secluded courtyard behind a wall. It's perfect there. High walls on all sides muffle the sound. Almost no one goes there, except for those people in cars, and they come rarely and always at night. During the day, it's empty. And most importantly, there's that very door to the basement. Mysterious, ajar. The spectacle captivates him. He sees it as clearly as if it had already happened. He carefully makes his way into the courtyard. He creeps up to the green door. He places the silver firecracker on the stone step, right in the beam of light. For some reason, he's sure there will be light there. He strikes a match. Where can he get matches? He needs to steal a box from the kitchen when Mom isn't looking. He lights both fuses. They start sparking. He jumps around the corner of the passage, toward his fence, and freezes. He waits. And then, boom! Not just a bang. A real deafening explosion. The sound echoes off the walls of the houses. The door will probably jerk from the impact. Maybe the old paint will crumble. A puff of smoke will creep out from underneath. And most importantly, this sound. Loud, grown-up, meaningful. It will belong to him, to Liam. The plan seems flawless. There's a risk. He might get caught sneaking there during the day, but it's worth it. He'll do it. Tomorrow. Or the day after. Whenever the right moment presents itself. When Mom's at work longer. He now has a goal. Boredom dissolves, replaced by feverish, meticulous deliberation. Liam begins to observe. He does this from his window, from the landing of their building, from the park across the street. He looks for a pattern. This is what he sees. There's almost always one man standing outside the house next door. He's not standing by the gate, but in the shadows, by that section of wall, or sitting in the old guardhouse Liam hadn't noticed before. This man is usually reading a newspaper or looking at his phone. Every few hours, he's replaced by another, equally nondescript man in dark clothes. But there's a moment, a brief window of time when there's no guard. It happens in the middle of the day, between 2 and 3 o'clock. The old shift has already retreated deeper into the courtyard, probably through that very door to the basement. And the new one hasn't yet taken up his post. This window doesn't last long. 5, maybe 10 minutes. Liam keeps track of the time. He glances at the digital clock on the school building across the street. At 2:50, the first person leaves. At exactly 3, the next one comes on. That's 10 minutes of nothingness. These 10 minutes are his chance. He knows that the other people, the ones in suits, only appear in the evening or at night. During the day, especially during these 10 minutes, the courtyard is completely empty. No one is watching. He tests this for 3 days in a row. Every day, everything repeats itself precisely. Like clockwork, he begins to believe he's found a weak spot in the armor of this mysterious house. His plan goes from an abstract idea to something feasible. He has a precise time. The day Liam chooses is no different from any other. The weather is gray and cool. He walks home from school, eats the sandwich his mother left for him in the kitchen, and does his homework. Everything is as usual. But inside, everything is different. His thoughts revolve around one thing. Today, between 2:50 and 3. He has that same silver firecracker in his pocket. He found an old lighter in the toolbox in the hallway. His mother doesn't use it. He checked it. It works. Gives off a high yellow flame. After lunch, the silence in the apartment seems especially thick. He hears the ticking of the kitchen clock. He hears a neighbor turning on the water somewhere upstairs. Normal sounds, but for him, they're just background noise to the loud beating of his own heart. He goes to the window and looks out onto the courtyard. It's empty. Security is in place. A man in a dark blue jacket stands leaning against the wall, staring at his phone. Everything is calm, too calm. This ordinariness is deceptive. Liam knows that in an hour it will change. He checks his pocket. The firecracker is there. The lighter is there too. He can feel their weight. They feel very heavy, disproportionately heavy for their size. He lies down on the bed and stares at the ceiling, trying to calm his breathing. He repeats the plan to himself: climb the fence, quickly cross the yard, go to the door, place the firecracker on the step, light the fuse, run away, hide around the corner, wait. It's simple. 10 minutes is enough. On the outside, he's just a kid bored at home on a quiet day. Inside, he's a clockwork mechanism wound to the limit. An hour before the appointed time, something happens that Liam didn't expect. He's standing by the window again, checking to see if security is in place. Suddenly, the man by the wall looks up from his phone, straightens up, and mutters something into his sleeve. His posture changes. From relaxed, it becomes focused and attentive. A single black car pulls out onto the main road. Not 3, like that night, but just 1. It pulls up not to the hidden gate in the wall, but to the regular front gate of the house, which opens onto another, busier street. Liam almost never saw that gate open. The car stops. The driver gets out, walks around the car, and opens the back door. Kim Jun gets out of the car. He's alone. He's wearing a black coat over dark clothes instead of a dark gray suit. He looks less formal, but no less significant. He says something to the driver, who nods, gets back in the car, and drives off to park nearby. Kim Jun turns and looks straight toward the courtyard, that same secluded courtyard. He stands there for a few seconds, as if listening or considering something. Then he takes a step toward the gate at the front door. The guard at the courtyard wall is already moving toward him, ready to open it from the inside. Liam freezes by the window. His plan is crumbling before his eyes. The boss is here, now, during the day. This changes everything. Will the guards come out for a shift change if the owner of the house is inside? Will that man by the wall leave his post? Or will everything be different now that Kim Jun is here? A wave of disappointment and frustration washes over him. All his careful calculations, all his anticipation. What was it all for? But almost immediately, another feeling emerges. A sharp, prickly curiosity. Kim Jun is here, alone. What will he do? Will he go through that green door? Liam watches as Kim Jun walks through the gate into the courtyard. A security guard briefly reports something to him. Kim Jun listens and nods. He doesn't go to the front entrance of the building. He turns and walks in the direction of the green door to the basement. He disappears from Liam's view, entering a narrow passage between the buildings. Now the courtyard is empty again. The guard remains at the gate, but Liam no longer looks at him. He stares at the spot where Kim Jun disappeared. His plan is shelved, but the situation has become 100 times more interesting. The house no longer holds just empty secrets. Their owner himself is inside. And the silver cylinder in Liam's pocket suddenly seems more than just a toy to play with, but something else entirely. An opportunity to truly crash into this quiet, alien reality. Liam waits. He sits on the windowsill of his room, his forehead pressed against the glass, staring out at the courtyard. More than an hour has passed since Kim Jun entered the house. The courtyard has remained empty all this time. The guard remains at the gate on the main street. The one who was supposed to relieve him never showed up, so today's schedule is off. The plan is ruined. And then Liam sees movement. It's not him who emerges from the same passageway between the building blocks where Kim Jun went. A different man emerges. He's wearing a dark business suit, no coat. He looks younger, his face tense. He's muttering something under his breath, nervously adjusting the cuff of his shirt. He's not heading toward the gate, but straight across the courtyard to a hidden section of the wall. He takes a small remote control from his pocket and presses a button. The section of wall silently slides aside, revealing an opening. Beyond it lies not the street, but an internal garage or utility room. Cars are piled there. A man steps inside. The wall doesn't close immediately. He left it open. He must have forgotten something and stepped out for a moment, or he needs to do something quickly. Liam holds his breath. This is another chance. Not at all the one he planned, but a chance nonetheless. He sees a man approach one of the black cars, the one similar to the one Kim Jun had. He opens the trunk, bends down, and searches for something inside. His back is turned to the open doorway. He is completely focused on his task. If someone were to quickly slip into the courtyard now, the man would not notice. The guard at the gate would not see him either. He is blocked by the corner of the building. Lime's heart starts pounding again. Those 10 minutes of emptiness didn't happen, but instead, there's now 1 minute, maybe 2, while this man rummages through the trunk. Time to cross the yard and get to the green door? Perhaps. But that's 1,000 times more dangerous. The man could turn around at any moment. But isn't that an even more compelling reason to try? To do something right under their noses? The thought burns in his mind. Liam is no longer on the windowsill. He's standing around the corner of his house, in the very hallway that leads into someone else's yard. His back is pressed against the cold brick. In his right pocket is a firecracker. In his left, a lighter. His palms are sweaty. He can hear his own breathing. It seems too loud. He just looked out. The man by the car was still fiddling with the trunk. The hole in the wall was still open. The yard was empty. Everything was just as he'd seen it from the window. But now, standing here, 2 steps from the forbidden line, Liam felt not excitement, but a chilling fear. His mother's voice echoes in his head. We can't attract attention. Any. Neither good nor bad. He imagines her face if she recognizes him. Disappointment. Fear. Maybe anger. He imagines the face of the man in the suit if he turns around and sees him. Cold eyes, full. Not of surprise, but calculation. What will they do to him? To his mother? He clutches the firecracker in his pocket so tightly the paper crumples. His feet feel rooted to the ground. This is stupid. A voice inside him whispers. Insanely stupid. Go home. Just go home. Throw this thing down the garbage chute and forget about it. He remembers Kim Jun's gaze on that street. Indifferent, appraising. A look at something. He remembers the stern face of the security guard who said, This is private property. Go. This entire neighborhood, this house, these people, they exist in another world. A world of power and mystery, where he, Liam, has no access. His world is a small room, boring lessons, and quiet walks with his mother. Trying to cross that boundary is presumptuous. He's just a child. He's about to turn around and leave. His fingers unclench. He takes a half step back, and at that moment, he hears laughter. That same ringing, pure childish laughter. It's not coming from the dormer window, but from somewhere closer, perhaps from an open window on the ground floor of the house overlooking the courtyard. It's a short, joyful laugh, and then a voice. Try and catch it. Someone's playing there, right now. While the adults are busy with their important, dark affairs, someone there, behind that high wall, is simply laughing and playing ball. The sound burns through his indecision like a red-hot needle. Suddenly, he realizes he's afraid of more than just punishment. He's afraid of this silence. He's afraid of his small, predictable world. He's afraid of being invisible. The firecracker in his pocket isn't just a prank. It's his voice. The only way he can say, I'm here, I exist, and I can disrupt your perfect silent order. Even if it's for just a second. Even if it's stupid and dangerous. He remembers his ball lying in that yard. And the security guard who looked down on him. He doesn't want to be looked down on anymore. He wants to be heard. His fear doesn't disappear. It's still as sharp and cold as ever. But now something else is added to it. A stubborn, childish determination. A desire to prove something to himself. That he's more than just a shadow creeping along the walls. He exhales. His hand clutches the firecracker again. He no longer thinks about the consequences. He thinks only about the next step. About getting around the corner. Crossing these 10 meters of open space, finding himself at the green door. He takes a deep breath and exhales. His body no longer feels heavy. It feels light, like before diving into the water. Liam steps forward, emerging from the shadows of the passageway and onto the asphalt of someone else's yard. Liam creeps along the wall, pressing himself against the rough brick. His gaze is fixed on the man by the car. The man's back is still turned. Liam runs the last few meters to the green door and presses himself against the cold stone steps. He's there. His heart is pounding so hard it's about to jump out of his chest. He pulls a silver firecracker and a lighter out of his pocket. His hands are shaking. He looks around. The man by the car is taking something out of the trunk. It looks like a folder with papers. Lima has seconds. He places the firecracker on the top dry step, right next to the crack under the door. His thumb presses the lighter's wheel. The first time, just a spark. The second time, a weak flame that immediately goes out. Liam clenches his teeth. He glances over his shoulder. The man begins to close the trunk. Desperation invigorates him. Liam presses the wheel harder, holds his finger longer. A tongue of flame flares up, tall and yellow. He brings the flame to the two fuses of the firecracker. They hiss as they ignite and begin to crackle, emitting acrid smoke and tiny sparks. The sound seems impossibly loud to Liam in the silence of the courtyard. An ominous, rapid hiss. Instinct is faster than thought. The fuses are burning, shortening at an alarming rate. He doesn't have time to turn around and run away gracefully. He has to get rid of this now. He grabs the firecracker, fuses still burning. The paper burns his fingers. Without aiming, he throws it with one sharp movement of his hand. Not toward the door, not toward the car, just forward, into the center of the empty yard, away from himself. The silver cylinder flies in a low, short arc. It spins in the air, a thin trail of smoke from the fuses trailing behind it. Liam doesn't follow its flight. He's already pushing off the steps and sprinting back toward the safe passage, toward his fence. His legs carry him of their own accord. He doesn't even think about the man by the car. There's only one goal, distance. The firecracker lands on the asphalt about 5 meters from the green door and 15 from the open space in the garage wall. It bounces once and comes to a stop. Two short fuses burn out almost simultaneously. First comes the light, a bright, blinding flash of white fire. For a moment, it colors the gray asphalt, the brick walls, the green door in harsh, lifeless colors. Liam's shadow, already running to the corner, darts across the wall like a black giant and vanishes. The sound comes immediately after the light. It's not a bang. It's a sharp, dry, rolling thud. A roar. It doesn't echo across the yard, but seems to rip apart the silence itself, shattering it like glass. A wave of sound hits my ears. The walls of the houses. A small window in the neighboring house rattles. A small, dense cloud of white-gray smoke, smelling of burning and sulfur, hangs for a second above the site of the explosion. Liam doesn't see the flash. He's already around the corner, but the light illuminates the passage in front of him, and the sound hits him. It's deafening. He presses himself against the wall, instinctively covering his head with his hands. His body freezes with surprise and horror. He didn't expect it to be so loud, so real. The rumble subsides, but it isn't replaced by the usual sounds. A complete, deafening silence descends. It's thick and heavy. The distant hum of the city, the rustling of leaves, the sounds from open windows. All of it is swallowed up and canceled out by this silence. Liam's ears are ringing, but it's a ringing from within. Outside, there's nothing. He's not breathing. He's listening. His heart is pounding somewhere in his throat. This silence is more terrible than an explosion. It means that everything has stopped, that everyone nearby is now frozen and listening. Then the silence is broken by other sounds, a sharp, abrupt cry from the direction of the garage. The voice of a man, the one in the suit. Not words, just a cry of surprise and alarm. The sound of quick, heavy footsteps on the asphalt. Not one person, but several. The slam of a door swinging open. Perhaps the green one. Muffled voices. Abrupt commands. Liam can't make out the words, but the tone is clear. Alarm. Action. He's afraid to move, afraid his footsteps will be heard in this crystal silence. He stands around the corner, his back pressed against the bricks, and realizes he wasn't just playing a prank. He'd set the mechanism in motion. And now he doesn't know what will happen next. All he can hear is adults running around in the yard, where his ball lay a second ago, and all because of him. Liam pushes off the wall and runs. His legs buckle on the first few steps, but he catches his balance and races down the narrow passage. His head is empty, the ringing and buzzing still ringing in his ears. He doesn't think. He's driven by pure animal instinct. The gate to his yard, the fence. He needs to get there. He jumps onto the fence, clings to it with his hands, and lifts his foot. The rubber sole slides on the wet wood. He falls to his side, landing on his knees and palms on the hard asphalt. Pain shoots through his arms, but he immediately jumps up and runs to the entrance. The keys! Where are the keys? He gropes for them in his jeans pocket, drops them, and picks them up with trembling fingers. On the third try, he fits the keyhole. He bursts into the entryway, slams the door, and leans his back against it, closing his eyes. His heart is pounding somewhere in his throat, trying to escape. It seems like the pounding of his heart can be heard throughout the entire entryway. He takes a deep, shuddering breath. It smells of damp and old linoleum. He's home. Safe. But this feeling lasts only a second. He realizes he's not safe. Not at all. He glances back at the fogged glass door, expecting to see someone's shadow behind it, No one. Silence. Only his hoarse breathing. He takes off and runs up the stairs, avoiding the elevator. His footsteps echo loudly in the concrete shaft. He reaches his apartment, fiddles with his keys again, finally opens the door, and stumbles inside. He clicks all the locks. Liam stands in the middle of the hallway, leaning his hands on the dresser. He's trying to catch his breath. His gaze falls on his own hands. His palms are bruised from the fall, covered in dirt and dust. On the fingers of his right hand is a thin black smudge of soot. From the lighter, from the wick, he quickly rubs his hands on his jeans, but the smudge remains. And then it dawns on him. A box of matches. He'd taken it from his kitchen, an old cardboard box, almost full. He'd put it in his jacket pocket, along with the firecracker. In his jacket pocket, Liam rips off his jacket, the left side. He puts his hand in the pocket. It's empty. He turns the pocket inside out. Only dust and threads. He checks the right pocket, also empty. He throws the jacket on the floor and kneels, feeling the fabric. Nothing. So the box fell out. When? When he was running? When he fell off the fence? Or earlier? Maybe when he was pressed against the wall in the yard? He imagines a small red box lying on the gray asphalt of someone else's yard, or in a doorway, or right next to his own fence. It doesn't have a name on it, but it's an unusual box, from an old cafe where his mother once worked. It's recognizable. A cold knot of fear tightens in his stomach. The explosion is one thing. It could have been anyone. But the physical evidence left near the scene is something else. It connects him directly to this place. He lifts his jacket, carefully feeling every seam again. No, the matchbook is still there. It left a mark. There's a silence in that very courtyard, but of a different kind. Restless, tense. Several people are quickly but calmly inspecting the perimeter. One stands by the spot where the firecracker lay. A small, black, scorched spot, and tiny shreds of silvery paper remain on the asphalt. Two others are examining the walls and the gate. The man in the suit, the same one who was by the car, stands next to one of the guards and speaks quietly but quickly, clearly giving instructions. His face is pale with anger and fear. And then Kim Jun emerges from the shadows of the passage between the buildings. He walks slowly. He doesn't look rushed or anxious. He's still wearing the same black coat, unbuttoned. His hands are hidden in his pockets. He approaches the site of the explosion and stops. He stares at the scorched spot for a few seconds. Everyone around them freezes. The man in the suit stops talking and turns to the boss, his mouth slightly open, ready to explain the situation. Kim Jun slowly raises his head. He doesn't look at his men. His gaze glides over the walls surrounding the courtyard, over the rooftops, over the windows of the neighboring houses. His gaze lingers on the passageway through which Liam just disappeared. Then it shifts to the fence separating this courtyard from the next. He squints, as if trying to discern something in the dim light, or better comprehend the scene. There's no anger or fear on his face. There's only a cold, focused assessment. He doesn't move, doesn't ask questions. He simply perceives the facts. And his complete calm at this moment frightens those around him more than a scream. People are waiting. The air trembles with anticipation. A man in a suit steps forward to begin his presentation. Kim Jun doesn't let him speak. He slowly turns his head and looks straight at him. It's not a look. It's an order, clear and unmistakable, conveyed without a single word. His eyes command him to stop fussing immediately and get down to business. Then he turns his gaze to the senior guard. And again, the same quiet but unmistakable command. He nods slightly, first toward the passageway where Liam disappeared, then toward the street, and then makes a barely perceptible movement of his chin toward the neighboring buildings. That's enough. Both people, the man in the suit and the security guard, understand instantly. The order is clear. Find, inspect all possible escape routes, check the surrounding areas, find out who could have done this. And do it now, quietly and effectively. Kim Jun doesn't wait for confirmation. He turns and, with the same slow, confident stride, walks back down the passageway toward the house. He doesn't look back. He's already given all the necessary orders. Now it's up to others. The chaotic anxiety in the courtyard gives way to quiet, purposeful activity. The people disperse, their movements now quick but devoid of panic. They know what they have to do. The boss has seen and understood everything. Now they must carry it out. Amira returns home later than usual. She's tired. Her shoulders ache from a long cleaning day on the other side of town. She opens the door, expecting to find Liam studying or watching TV. Instead, she sees him sitting on the edge of the living room couch. He sits motionless, his hands clasped in his lap, staring into space. "Liam?" she calls, taking off her jacket. He flinches, as if struck by a click, and turns his face toward her. And she sees his eyes. They're wide open, frozen not with childish fear, but with something deeper. An animal, cold terror. He's pale, his lips pressed tightly together. Gray streaks of dust are visible on the knees of his jeans, and there's a scrape on his arm. All her fatigue evaporated instantly. Her internal compass, tuned to her son, swung sharply, pointing to disaster. This wasn't a simple prank, not a bad grade. This was something serious. Something very bad. She slowly hung up her jacket, never taking her eyes off him. Her heart began to beat a little faster. She doesn't shout. She doesn't ask questions right away. She goes into the kitchen, puts down her bag, and pours 2 glasses of water. She returns to the living room. She sits down next to him on the sofa. She holds out the glass. He takes it mechanically, but doesn't drink. He holds it in his hands, as if it were a foreign object. "Liam," she says in a quiet, even voice. "Look at me." He tears his gaze away from the window with difficulty and looks at her. She reads guilt in his eyes. Enormous, crushing guilt. "What happened?" she asks. Simply, without preamble. He is silent, lowers his head, and squeezes the glass so hard that his fingers turn white. "Liam!" Her voice remains soft, but a steely edge appears in it. "I need to know, right now. I'm your mother, and I can see you're in trouble." He shakes his head, muttering something unintelligible. "Is it because of the box? Because of those firecrackers?" The guess comes instantly. His silence is the answer. She feels a chill creep up her spine. "Did you take one? Where is it?" "She's gone," he finally breathes out, barely audible. "What do you mean, no?" He closes his eyes. I used her." The silence in the room grows thick as tar. Amira slowly sets her glass down on the table. Every movement is effortful. "Where?" is no longer a question, but a demand. He's silent again. She understands. The place is the scariest part. She places her hand on his clenched fists. "Liam, where?" He looks up at her, his eyes full of tears that cannot fall. "In the yard. In that neighbor's yard." Amira's insides freeze. The neighbor's yard. Kim Jun's house. She suddenly remembers his gaze on the street. That indifferent, assessing nod. She remembers the whispered stories other women had told her about his affairs, about his discipline. She looks at her son's frightened face and understands the scale of the catastrophe. Her child hadn't simply broken a rule. He had invaded, he had attacked, without realizing it. "How did this happen? Tell me everything, from the very beginning," she says. Her voice is now like a blade, thin, cold, ready to cut through the truth. And he, choking on his words, under the pressure of her calm, terrible attention, begins to tell. He tells everything. About the surveillance, about the schedule, about the open door, about how he threw the firecracker and ran away, about the box of matches he lost. Amira listens without interrupting. Her face becomes increasingly stony. When he finishes, a heavy, hopeless silence hangs in the apartment. She understands everything. There are clues. He was seen. He could have been tracked. She's already thinking about what to do. Pack her things? Run away right now tonight? Where to? She has no money, no relatives in other cities. And at that moment, there is a knock on the door. Not a bell, not a persistent, impatient knock. A clear, measured, firm knock. 1, pause, 2, pause, 3. As if someone was beating a rhythm. The sound comes not through the thin door, but through the entire apartment, echoing in your bones. Liam flinches and squeezes her hand. His eyes widen with fear again. Amira freezes. Her blood runs cold. She knows who it is. It can't be anyone else. Not at this hour, not with that knock. She slowly rises from the couch. Her legs feel weak. She takes a step toward the hallway, then looks back at Liam. Her gaze says, "Don't move. Be quiet." The knocking is repeated, with the same leisurely, inexorable precision. Amira approaches the door. She doesn't look through the peephole right away. She takes a deep breath, trying to compose herself. Then she bends down. 2 silhouettes are visible through the peephole. They stand perfectly still, filling the entire field of view. Dark suits, white shirts, ties. Their faces are invisible. They are looking down. They are simply waiting. Her hand reaches for the chain, but she stops. The chain won't save her. Nothing will. She slowly slides the bolts back and turns the key. The door opens. 2 people stand in the doorway. The same people she saw next to Kim Jun. Their faces are calm, expressing neither threat nor friendliness. They are simply faces. The older one looks about 40, with short gray hair at his temples. The second is younger, with an inscrutable gaze. The elder one says, his voice is low, polite, and unaccented. He pronounces her name correctly, with the stress on the first syllable. She nods, speechless. She can feel Liam's breath coming from the living room behind her. Sorry to disturb you at this hour, the man continues. He doesn't smile. We need to talk to you and your son. About a small matter. He doesn't say why. He doesn't ask if they can come in. He states a fact. A conversation is necessary. His politeness is icy and absolute. Amira tries to find her voice. What about? My son. He did his homework. We were about to have dinner. The man with gray temples bows his head slightly, as if expressing understanding, but his eyes remain fixed. It won't take long. Mr. Kim Jun asked me to tell you that he would be happy to clear up the misunderstanding in person. He invites you to his office, right now. The word invites sounds like a soft, non-negotiable command. Clear up a misunderstanding. What a terribly calm expression for a firecracker exploding in the yard. I don't think it's necessary, Amira says weakly. The boy scared me. He won't do it again. Mr. Kim Jun insists. The man interrupts her gently. His voice doesn't rise even a half tone. He feels it's important to talk, to avoid further mistakes. With all of us. For your peace of mind. His words convey a hidden meaning. Only talking to him can guarantee that this misunderstanding won't have any consequences. Refusal is not an option. Amira looks at the two motionless, polite men in the doorway of her modest apartment. She feels a trap slammed shut. There's nowhere to run. Arguing is useless. She turns around. Liam stands in the living room doorway, white as a sheet. He heard everything. She looks at him, then back at the guests. Fragments of thoughts about the police, about escape, about pleading, flash through her mind. But she understands this is a different world with its own rules. And the rules say, you're invited. You must come. Okay, she says quietly. Her own voice sounds alien to her. We'll put on our jackets. The older man nods almost imperceptibly. We'll wait here. This is not an invitation. This is an escort. They're led not through the front door, but through that same gate in the yard. Amira holds Liam's hand tightly. His fingers are freezing. They pass the very spot on the asphalt where his ball lay, where a small black spot is now visible. Liam doesn't look there. He looks at his feet. They are led through an ordinary, unremarkable door in the wall of the house. Inside, the interior is not opulent, but rather resembles a service corridor. Bare walls, linoleum on the floor. They climb one floor up a narrow staircase. An older man opens the door and lets them in first. The room they enter is striking in its simplicity. It's an office, but it doesn't look like the kind of office you see in movies. There are no massive desks, ceiling-high bookcases, or expensive paintings. The room is almost empty. In the center stands a simple, light-colored wooden table. On it sits a laptop, a notepad, a couple of pens, and a phone. There's one chair behind the table and two chairs in front of it. There's nothing on the walls, no windows. The lighting pours from the ceiling, even, white, without shadows. The floor is covered with a gray, practical carpet. The room is cool and smells clean, almost sterile. There's nothing personal here, nothing that would reveal anything about the owner. Only functionality. This emptiness weighs more heavily than any luxury. Kim Jun is sitting at the table. He's not working on his laptop. He's just sitting there. His hands are resting on the table, palms down. He's wearing the same dark sweater he wore during the day. He looks at them as they enter. His face is expressionless. The man with graying temples quietly says, Mrs. Amira, Liam, and he retreats to the door, taking up a position next to it. The other remains outside. The door doesn't close all the way. Sit down, says Kim Jun. His voice is quiet, even, and without greeting. He gestures toward two chairs. Amira sits carefully on the edge of the chair. Liam plops down next to her, not looking up. He stares at his dirty sneakers on the perfectly clean gray carpet. Kim Jun is silent for a few seconds. He studies them. The silence in the windowless room becomes unbearable. It presses on his ears. Do you know why you're here? He finally asks. He addresses Amira, but the question hangs in the air for both of them. Amira nods, trying to collect her voice. My son, he did something very stupid. He apologized. We are deeply sorry. Apologize, Kim Jun repeats. He says the word slowly, as if tasting it. A stupid thing. He pauses. An explosive device went off in my yard. A small device, but a device nonetheless. It created a threat. It disrupted order. It required a distraction. You call that stupid? Each word falls like a stone. He doesn't raise his voice, but his quiet, measured speech sends shivers down Amira's spine. It's not a scream. It's a cold, calm anger that's more terrifying than any rage. Liam shrinks in his chair. He feels Kim Jun's gaze on him, like physical pressure. Let the boy tell you, Kim Jun says, turning his gaze to him. In his own words. What happened? Amira wants to say something, to defend herself, but she meets the gaze of the man at the door and freezes. Liam looks up. His throat is dry. He doesn't see the scary boss from the rumors, just a man at a desk. But that doesn't make it any easier. His voice breaks. I was bored. I found this thing in the park. What thing? Kim Jun asks flatly. A firecracker. A silver one. Liam swallows. I wanted to just see how it worked. I thought there was no one there. I saw security leaving. For 10 minutes. He stumbles, spilling out bits of truth. About the open basement door. About the man by the car. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Honestly, I just threw it and ran. It was a joke, a stupid joke. He falls silent, catching his breath. His explanations sound pathetic and childishly naive in this stern adult room. He can hear it himself. Just a joke. That explains nothing and excuses nothing. He lowers his eyes again. Silence falls. Amira clasps her hands in her lap, waiting for the explosion. Waiting for cold orders, for retribution. And suddenly there's a sound. A low, chesty, short sound. It's laughter. One short, surprised exhalation. Like a then another. Kim Jun shakes his head, looking at Liam. His lips curl not into a smile, but into something resembling a grimace of genuine, almost unbelievable astonishment. 10 minutes, he finally says, and there's a strange note in his voice. Not anger, more like a kind of disrespect mixed with amusement. You tracked down my security schedule to pull off this prank. He looks at Liam as if he's seeing him for the first time, not as an annoying nuisance, but as an unexpected, strange phenomenon. Joke, he repeats again. Risk getting caught. Trespassing on private property to cause a little explosion. Out of boredom, his laughter died down. The room fell silent again, but the atmosphere had changed. The anticipation of imminent punishment was replaced by tense uncertainty. The anger seemed to have vanished, dissolved in that surprised laughter. But what would replace it was now even more terrifying, because it was completely unpredictable. Kim Jun leaned back in his chair, his attentive, reassessing gaze never leaving the boy's pale face. Kim Jun stops laughing. He slowly crosses his arms and looks somewhere over Liam's head, as if he sees something else in the empty wall. Boredom, he says thoughtfully. Yes, I understand. He pauses. The room waits. When I was a boy, younger than you, we lived in the old neighborhood by the river. There were barns, vacant lots, and every winter, before the holidays, my brother and I would save up money, not for sweets, for firecrackers, the biggest ones we could buy, red as peppers. He speaks evenly, without a smile, simply stating the facts. We'd hide around corners and throw them at the feet of passers-by, an old man with a stick, a woman with bags. Then we'd run as fast as we could. It was fun. The noise, the fear on their faces, our speed. We thought it was just a joke. He returns his gaze to Liam. We threw a firecracker like that once, not at someone's feet, but at an iron barrel. The barrel was against the wall. We didn't know there was paint left in it. Paint thinner. The pop wasn't just loud. It knocked the bottom off the barrel. A fireball hit the wall. The shed caught fire. Kim Jun falls silent, remembering. They spanked us. Not just spanked us. They spanked us so hard we couldn't sit down for 2 days. And they made us work for the owner of that shed for a whole year, after school, to cover the damage. We painted, carried, cleaned. Every day. That cured us of such jokes. He leans back in his chair, looking at Liam appraisingly. What you did was stupid. Very stupid. You could have been seriously hurt. Could have been hit by a car while running. My man could have reacted more quickly. You weren't thinking. That's bad. Liam cringes. But then Kim Jun continues, and a new note appears in his tone. But to do that, you had to observe, spot a weak spot, decide to act, have the courage to cross the line. Stupidity and courage often go hand in hand, especially in childhood. Most children only dream of such things, or are afraid. You did it. Recklessly, but you did it. He says this not as praise, more as a statement of interest, as if studying an unusual specimen. His gaze slides over the boy's pale face, his frightened but attentive eyes. I respect courage, even stupid courage. The world is full of people who only talk and are afraid. They are not dangerous, they are just background. Those who act are dangerous or interesting. Those who cross the line. You weren't smart enough to understand the consequences, but you had the courage to cross into someone else's territory and challenge them. That deserves attention. Silence falls. Amira sits, holding her breath. She doesn't understand where this speech is leading. The recognition of her son's courage frightens her even more than outright anger. Kim Jun turns to face her. You work for me. You clean. I know your name. You do your job well, quietly. I appreciate that. Then he looks back at Liam. You created a mess, even a small one. You distracted my people. You broke the rules. There should be a consequence for that. Not a spanking. And not the police. It's useless. There should be a different consequence. He pauses, letting the words sink in. You will compensate for the inconvenience caused. With work, not with your mother. You yourself. Liam's eyes widen. In the evenings, after school, and on Saturday mornings, you will come here. You will have responsibilities. You will help around the house, wash cars, sweep the yard, file papers in the office. What can I say? This will be your work. You will be paid the standard wage for a general laborer. Part of the money will go to cover the damages. My time, my people's time. The rest is yours. But you must come, carefully, without being late, and do what you're told, until I decide the debt is paid. It will take several months. He looks at the shocked Liam, then his mother. This isn't a punishment. It's a responsibility. Did you want to be closer to this house? Did you want to know what was going on here? Fine. Now you'll work here, and you'll see everything from the inside, and you'll learn to appreciate the order you yourself violated. That's my proposal. The alternative is officialdom and problems that will ruin both of your lives for a long time. Choose! Amira makes the decision. She understands there is no other choice. She sees in Kim Jun's eyes not cruelty, but cold calculation. This is not revenge. It's a deal. Her son is granted the opportunity to avoid disaster, but at the cost of freedom for the entire summer. She nods, quietly saying, We agree. Liam remains silent, unable to add anything. The very next day, after school lets out, his work begins. He's greeted not by the same man, but by a different one, younger, with short hair and watchful eyes. His name is Taeyong. Summer is just beginning, and the long days now have a clear structure. School, lunch, the commute, work until evening. All his former freedom, all the walks, all the games in the park, all of it disappears. His world narrows to the classroom, his room, and this house. Taeyong leads Liam out into the courtyard, the very one where it all happened. He points to the concrete sidewalk leading from the gate to the house. Cars drive here a lot, leaving dust and tire tracks. It needs to be washed, all the way through. He places a metal bucket of warm water, a long-handled brush, and a large gray rag at Liam's feet. No further instructions. Liam stands, looking at the equipment. He's never worked like this before. He picks up a brush. It feels heavy and awkward. He dips it in water and begins to scrub the concrete. His movements are clumsy, and the water splashes. He quickly realizes that the wet concrete is simply darkening, but the dirt isn't coming off. He needs to scrub harder. He bends down, applying force. 10 minutes later, his back begins to ache. His arms tire from holding the brush. He pauses to catch his breath. He sees Taeyong watching him from the shadows of the entryway, uninvolved. Liam clenches his teeth and starts scrubbing again. He realizes this isn't just a task. It's a test. The message? Your outburst created a mess. Now you're cleaning up another ordinary mess, stone by stone, with tedious labor. He works for over an hour. The water in the bucket turns a dirty brown. His hands turn red. But when he steps back, the sidewalk actually does look cleaner, brighter. Taeyong comes over, takes a quick look, and nods. Acceptable. Pour the water down the drain. Wash the bucket and brush, and put them in the storage room by the boiler room. Not another word. Liam, tired but with a strange sense of accomplishment, does as he's told. Days turn into weeks. His tasks vary. Sweep the garage, dust the shelves in the storage rooms, sort and neatly fold old newspapers for recycling, wash the tires of parked cars. Everything is monotonous, requiring patience and attention to detail. And gradually, as he carries out this work, Liam begins to see what was previously hidden. He sees not rush and chaos, but a quiet, precise organization. Everyone here knows their responsibilities. The janitor who cleans the grounds follows a strict route and at a specific time. Drivers always park their cars perfectly straight, with their wheels aligned with the designated markings. Even the trash is sorted into separate bins: paper, plastic, and general waste. He sees how people communicate, shortly, in short sentences, without unnecessary words or laughter. Everyone's movements are economical and precise. He sees how Taeyong gives orders, without raising his voice, simply stating a name and a task, and everything is carried out immediately. One day, he sees the gates open to let in a truck loaded with groceries. It's not just a driver and a loader. First, one of the people enters the yard and checks the driveway. Then the truck pulls up. It's unloaded quickly. Each box is checked against a list on a tablet, and only then is it carried inside. The empty truck is watched until the gates close. The entire process took 10 minutes, and during that time, no one said a single unnecessary word. It was a smooth, silent operation. Liam begins to understand. This house isn't just a place for a powerful man to live. It's a machine. Every person here is a component. Every action is part of an algorithm. His joke wasn't just a rule breaker. It was a grain of sand caught in the gears of this machine. And now, against his will, he himself has become one of the small, insignificant components. He watches, and his earlier curiosity is replaced by a growing, cold understanding of the scale of what he's gotten himself into. Once a week, usually on Friday evenings, when Liam finishes work, Taeyong approaches Amira, who has come to pick up her son, and says briefly, "Mr. Kim Jun invites you for tea for 10 minutes. It's not a question. Amira nods and follows him into the same windowless room, which now serves as both an office and a tea room. Kim Jun sits at the same simple table. On it sits a plain white porcelain teapot and 2 matching cups. No cookies, no sweets, just tea. He gestures to a chair. She sits down. He pours tea. The process is silent. Then he asks questions, always simple ones. How's the neighborhood? Have there been any problems with the plumbing in your house? Or, the boys' school, are the teachers good? He speaks quietly, listening attentively. Amira answers cautiously, at first dreading every word, but the questions are always about mundane, everyday things. Never about work, himself, or the past. He talks about how the shops on the main street have changed, about the new lamppost by the playground. He seems to know every stone in the area. These conversations last exactly 10 minutes. Then he nods, and Taeyeon appears at the door to see her out. These conversations don't become friendly. They remain ritual. But Amira begins to understand that for Kim For-jung, it's a way to maintain a connection with the world outside the walls of his home, with the ordinary life he controls but doesn't directly participate in. Liam doesn't notice how he's learning. It happens automatically. At first, he simply follows orders mechanically. Then he begins to notice the consequences. For example, the task of washing one of the company cars. The first time, he did it poorly, leaving streaks on the glass and drops on the doors. Taeyong didn't say anything. He simply gave him the same car and the same task the next day, and so on for 3 days in a row. On the 4th day, Liam, already irritated beyond belief, decided to do everything perfectly. He changed the water 3 times, wiped each part of the car with a separate dry cloth, and checked the windows for streaks. Taeyong inspected this car and simply said, "Tomorrow is a different task." He was never given that car again. Liam learned his lesson. A job isn't done until it's done well. Otherwise, you'll have to do it over and over again. Same with time. Being late was out of the question. Once, he was 5 minutes late because he was talking to a classmate. Taeyong met him at the gate, glanced at his watch, but said nothing. His assignment that day was simply sorting a huge pile of old, dusty papers in the basement, the most boring and time-consuming job he'd ever had. Liam was never late again. He learns to see disorder before it's pointed out to him. He learns to economize his movements. He learns to remain silent and listen. His own childish chaos is gradually supplanted by a new, alien discipline. He doesn't become part of the system, but he begins to understand its language. One Saturday, Liam runs an errand. He needs to carry a box of documents from Kim Jun's house to the small office outbuilding across the street. It's a rare occasion when he ventures outside the courtyard alone, unaccompanied. The box isn't heavy, but it's cumbersome. He walks along the sidewalk, carefully carrying a box. An elderly woman, Mrs. Cho, sits on a bench at the entrance to the nearby park. She lives in their building, 2 floors below. Beside her are two heavy bags of groceries. She looks tired, simply sitting and staring ahead. Liam has almost passed by when Kim Jun emerges from the entrance to their building. He's alone, without his men, wearing a simple dark sweater. He, too, notices Mrs. Cho. He slows, approaches her, and says something quietly. Liam, pausing 10 steps away, sees the woman first flinch, then smile shyly and nod. Kim Jun bends down and picks up both of her heavy bags. He does it easily, naturally. He says a few more words to her, then slowly walks toward the entrance, carrying her bags. The woman walks alongside him, animatedly talking. He listens, his head slightly bowed. They enter the entrance together. Liam stands motionless, holding the box. He's only seen this man in terms of power, silence, and control. He's seen his entourage, his faceless guards, his strict routine. And now he sees him simply carrying someone's bags. No witnesses, no payroll, simply because the old woman looked tired. This simple human gesture doesn't fit into the picture of the world Liam has built in his head over the past few weeks. He stands there for another minute, then slowly moves on toward the office annex. But the image, a strong man carrying 2 cheap bags of vegetables, can't leave his mind. It adds a new, complex, and incomprehensible touch to the portrait of Kim Jun. The days blur into a series of identical chores, but Liam's eyes begin to see more. He notices details he hadn't noticed before. For example, the man everyone calls Jin Ho. He's the oldest of those constantly in the yard. He has a wrinkled face and calm eyes. Every morning, at precisely 7, he leaves the house with a small box. He walks to the far corner of the yard, where an old apple tree grows. Under the tree are 2 bowls. He fills one with fresh water from a bottle. He pours dry food from a box into the other. A minute later, 2 stray cats appear from behind the fence. One is Ginger, the other Tabby. They slowly approach and eat. Jinho stands nearby, silently smoking, looking into the distance. He never bothers them, doesn't call them. He just feeds them. Every day. Or a driver named Sang. He always carries a paperback book with him. While waiting in the car, he doesn't look at his phone but reads. Liam once caught a glimpse of the title while wiping the car window. It was a language textbook, complete with grammar tables. These small details change the picture. These people are no longer just faceless guards or bad guys. They turn out to be people of habit, with quiet, personal rituals. They maintain a strict discipline, but within it, they have their own small, simple worlds. Liam still fears them, but the fear becomes more complex. A tinge of curiosity emerges, and later, a kind of cautious, silent respect for their constancy. One day, after Liam has carefully sorted and numbered a stack of old bills in the storage room, Taeyong approaches him. Tomorrow, after school, you have another assignment. Not here, he says. Liam looks at him, waiting for him to continue. You need to deliver something, down the block, to an address. Taeyong hands him a small, tightly sealed brown envelope, made of heavy paper. It's not thick, but it feels substantial. It has only a house number and a street name written on it. No name. You will deliver this envelope. You will give it to the person waiting by the blue door with the brass handle. No one else. You will say, from June, you will receive confirmation, and you will return straight here. No stopping, no talking to anyone else. Understood? Liam nods, feeling a tightening in his chest. This isn't just physical work. It's an errand. He's being trusted to deliver something, even if it's just an envelope. But this is leaving the courtyard for a purpose related to Kim Jun's affairs. Thoughts flicker through his mind. What's inside? Money? Documents? Something illegal? But he pushes them away. He takes the envelope. It feels solid. Understood, he says in a voice he hopes sounds confident. The next day, exactly at the appointed time, Liam, with an envelope in his inside jacket pocket, goes to the address he'd been given. The neighborhood is unfamiliar, with low, old buildings. He feels simultaneously important and terribly vulnerable. He searches for the blue door with the brass handle. He's almost to the right house when 3 guys emerge from an alley. They're clearly older than him, about 16. They're dressed in tracksuits and look casual and bored. They notice Liam walking alone and exchange glances. Hey, kid, says the tallest one, blocking his path. Where are you going so fast? Liam tries to get around them, but they close in on him. What's in your pockets? Show me. You can give the big guys a treat, says another with a sly grin. Liam's heart starts beating faster. He remembers the orders. No stopping, no talking. But he's trapped. The envelope burns in his chest. His thoughts race. Give them the money if he has any? But that would be a failure. Try to run? They'll catch up with him easily. I have nothing. I need to go, he says, trying to sound firm, but his voice cracks. Oh, we need to go, the third guy mimics. And we're saying we need to stop. Talk. They're getting closer. Liam takes a step back, his back against the fence. Panic rises in his throat. And suddenly, from across the street, a calm, even voice is heard. Liam, you have things to do. Go! All four turn their heads. On the opposite sidewalk, leaning against the wall, stands a man. Liam recognizes him. It's one of the men who always stands by Kim Jun's side, but in civilian clothes, a simple dark jacket and jeans. His name is Min. He stands completely relaxed, his hands in his pockets. He doesn't look threatening, but his presence, his knowledge of Lim's name, his calm tone, all of it is immediately noticeable. The hooligans freeze. They look at Min, assessing him. He's no older than them, but there's a completely different energy about him. It's not the energy of a street fight. It's something cooler and more confident. What do you want? The tall guy asks, trying to maintain his insolence. Min doesn't answer him. He looks only at Liam. The blue door is around the next corner. They're waiting for you. Don't be late. His tone leaves no doubt. Talking to these guys isn't worth his time. Liam, taking advantage of the confusion, abruptly walks past the frozen boys and practically runs toward the turn. He turns around once. Min is still standing in his place, staring off into the distance, as if the boys no longer exist. The same three are quietly arguing among themselves, but no longer try to pursue him. Liam finds the blue door, hands the envelope to the silent man, receives a nod, and, relieved and empty, heads back. He doesn't see Min or those guys on the way. It's as if they weren't there. But that calm voice calling his name rings in his ears. It wasn't a harsh defense. It was a simple reminder of the order of things. Lim has business, and that business must not be interfered with, and someone has ensured that there are no interruptions. He feels not so much gratitude as a new, strange kind of security, hard and impersonal, like a bulletproof vest. Liam's last day on the job comes on the last Saturday of August. The air is no longer as hot, but rather has a slight pre-autumn chill. Liam arrives in the yard, as usual, in his work clothes. But today, Taeyong isn't greeting him with a new assignment. Instead, he's standing next to Jinho at the entrance to the house. Today is the last day of your duty, Taeyong says without preamble. The job is complete. The damages are considered paid. Liam nods. He'd expected it, but now that the words are out loud, he feels a strange emptiness. All summer, his life has been divided into two parts, the ordinary one and this one, here. And now one of those parts is ending. I have one last task, Jinho says, his voice calm and slightly hoarse as always. Help me prepare the garage for winter. We'll sort through some old boxes. This isn't a punishment. It's a normal job that needs to be done. Liam follows the old man into the garage. They spend the entire day sorting through the rubble in the far corner. Empty gas cans, scraps of rubber, old car covers. They sort what to throw away, what to keep. The work is monotonous, but Liam does it automatically, his hands knowing what to do. He learned this summer. During a break, Jinho heats up tea in a tin kettle on a small electric stove and pours it into two simple mugs. He silently hands one to Liam. They sit on overturned crates and drink the hot, tart tea. They are silent, but it's not an awkward silence. It's familiar. Liam notices the old man carefully place cookie crumbs, which he took from his pocket, on the edge of an empty canister. A minute later, a sparrow flies in, then another. Jinho watches them, motionless. Liam asks unexpectedly. Jinho turns his head towards him, something like approval flickering in his eyes. Full. Ginger brought a kitten today. A small tabby one. We'll have to get a bigger bowl. Liam nods. He saw it this morning. A small, skinny kitten huddled close to the adult cats. Will he stay, do you think? He asks. If he survives. If he wants to. Everyone has their own choice. The old man replies, finishing his tea. The work ends in the evening. The garage looks tidy. Liam carries the last bag of trash to the dumpster. He returns. Taeyong is waiting for him at the door. He hands Liam an envelope. Your payment for the entire job. Check. Liam opens the envelope. Inside, a neat stack of bills lies. Not a huge amount, but a fair payment for a teenager's summer labor. He doesn't count, simply slipping the envelope into his pocket. The money doesn't seem like the most important thing right now. Thank you, he says to Taeyong. He nods briefly. Mr. Kim Jun wants to see you before he leaves. In the office, Liam enters that same windowless room for the last time. Everything is the same. A simple table, a chair, dim lighting. Kim Jun is sitting at the table. On the table in front of him lies a book with a dark blue hardcover without any pictures. "Sit down," says Kim Jun. Liam sits up. He's no longer cowering, no longer afraid to meet her gaze. He just sits and waits. "Summer is over. Your debt is paid," says Kim Jun. His voice is still even and quiet. "You worked. Not always well at first. But in the end, it was satisfactory. You learned to follow instructions, to see things through. That's useful." He pauses, his fingers lightly tapping the book cover. "You're observant. I noticed that right away. But observation without understanding is just curiosity. It leads to stupid actions, like yours." He moves the book a little closer to the edge of the table, towards Lim. "This is for you, as a farewell." Liam carefully picks up the book. It's heavier than it looks. The cover is embossed in gold letters, but the words are in an unfamiliar language. He opens it. Inside are pages with 2 columns of text, one in the same unfamiliar language, the other a translation. This isn't fiction. It's something like a textbook or a collection of texts. "This," Liam begins. "A book about choices," Kim Jun says curtly, "and about consequences. Not one you'll read in one evening. One you might understand later, if you want." He looks directly at Lim. "You crossed a line. You were given a chance to see what's beyond. Not everyone gets that. Now you have a choice. Forget this summer like a strange dream. Or remember the lesson. Discipline is not a cage. It's a tool. To build, not to break. To protect, not to attack out of boredom. Remember that." He leans back in his chair. The conversation is over. "You're free to go. Your mother is waiting for you outside." Liam stands up, holding a book in his hands. He wants to say something. Thank you, or sorry, but the words don't seem right. He simply bows his head slightly, much like Taeyong or Jinho do when they're given an order. Then he turns and leaves. Stepping outside, he sees his mother. She's standing by their gate, hesitant to come closer. He walks toward her. He has a book in his hand and an envelope with money in his pocket. He turns around and looks at the house for the last time. He doesn't see a mysterious fortress full of hidden threats. He sees a building, high walls, a secluded courtyard. He knows that a man in dark clothes stands behind the gate, staring at his phone. But at 7 in the morning, he'll go feed the cats. He knows that in the garage are several black cars, washed to a shine, and in the passenger seat of one of them lies a language textbook. He knows that somewhere inside there is a windowless room where people drink simple tea and talk about plumbing, and that the man sitting in that room can give orders in a quiet voice and then carry bags for an elderly neighbor. This house no longer frightens him with its mystery. It frightens him with its complex, well-oiled reality. It's like this book in his hands, incomprehensible now, heavy, requiring effort to understand. "Is everything okay?" Amira asks quietly, placing her hand on his shoulder. Liam looks at the house for a moment longer, then turns to his mother. "Yeah, it's over. Let's go home." They walk. Liam doesn't look back, but he feels the weight of the book in his hand, and he knows that he will sometimes look at that house from his window, no longer with the curiosity of a trespasser searching for a weak spot, but with the understanding of someone who has briefly peered inside a complex mechanism and now knows it ticks for a reason. Behind every tick there is a reason. Behind every movement, calculation, or habit. And the laughter behind the wall, which he heard at the beginning of the summer, now seems to him not just a sound, but a part of this alien, complex life, which he briefly touched. The world beyond the fence hasn't become his own, but it has ceased to be simply alien. It has become concrete. And this, as Liam understands, has been the main lesson of the entire summer. The book lies on Liam's desk, dark blue cover, gold lettering. He opens it several times. The text is complex, full of long words and concepts unfamiliar to him. It's not a story, but rather a discourse. About duty, about choice, about how a small action can change everything, like a stone thrown into water causing waves. He reads a paragraph a day, slowly. Sometimes he rereads the same sentence several times, trying to understand. The book becomes a kind of anchor, connecting him to that summer. He doesn't talk about it at school. It's his secret. School starts again, everything is going on as usual. But Liam notices a change in himself. Before, he could sit through the entire lesson, staring out the window and daydreaming. Now he finds it easier to concentrate. The teacher speaks, and he listens, not because he has to, but because he's used to listening attentively. When given an assignment, he does it right away without putting it off. He's learned to break a large task into small steps. First read the chapter, then highlight the main points, then do the exercises. It's like washing a car. First the roof, then the windows, then the tires. Classmates sometimes invite him after school. Let's go to the park, let's chat. He used to agree. Now he often refuses. Not because he's become unsociable, he's simply more interested in other things. He watches. He watches the history teacher discreetly adjust his tie when the vice principal enters the classroom. As the most talkative boy in the class, Sasha always looks around, seeking approval, before cracking a joke. Liam sees these small rituals, these unwritten rules. He's begun to notice an order hidden beneath the surface of the ordinary school bustle. At home, Amira looks at him with relief and anxiety. She's glad the horror is over, that Kim Jun kept his word and left them alone. But she sees how her son has changed. He's become quieter, more mature. He washes his own dishes without being asked. He neatly folds things in the closet. Sometimes she catches his gaze, looking out the window, toward that house. There's no longer the same fear or childish curiosity in that gaze. There's something heavy there now, thoughtful. Liam, is everything okay? She asks one evening. Yes, Mom, everything's fine, he replies, and he smiles. But the smile is no longer as carefree as before. One day, a project is announced at school. You have to choose a profession you know little about, conduct some research, and interview someone who works in it. Most people choose something clear and catchy: a firefighter, a doctor, a blogger. Liam sits and stares at the assignment sheet. Images whirl through his head. Taeyong giving orders in a flat voice. Jin-ho pouring cat food, Sang with a textbook in the car, Min appearing out of nowhere and vanishing into thin air. He raises his hand. Can I choose something that's not exactly a profession? Can I choose an organization? How some company works? The teacher, Mrs. Elena, raises her eyebrows in surprise. A company? Like what? Liam pauses for a second. Then he says, choosing his words carefully. For example, the security service of a private house. How everything is organized from the inside. The routine, the responsibilities, the communication. The class laughs. Security! Boring! Someone shouts from the back of the classroom. But Mrs. Alina looks at Lim with interest. An unusual angle. Complicated. You'll have to find someone willing to tell you. It's not that simple. Are you sure? I'll try, Liam says. At home, he tells his mother about the project. Amira turns pale. Liam, no, you can't. That's going to be us getting into that again. We just got out. Mom, it's just a school project. I need information. I won't do anything bad. I'll just ask. Ask? Who? Taeyong? Kim Jun? Are you crazy? Her voice trembles. I don't know, Liam says honestly. But I can't choose anything else. I see it everywhere now. At school, on the street. How everything is organized, or not organized. I want to understand how this is really done. Okay. They argue. Amira talks about safety, about staying away. Liam doesn't shout. He simply says, I can't pretend I didn't see anything anymore. I was inside, at least for a little while. Ignoring it is like not finishing that book. It's already open. Finally, Amira, overcome by his strange adult confidence, collapses into a chair. And how are you going to do that? I'll go and ask, politely, like they ask at school. If they say no, I'll think of something else. The next day after school, he doesn't go home. He goes to Kim Jun's house, to an ordinary gate, not the one in the yard. His heart is beating fast, but it's not the same panic as before. It's nervous anticipation. Another person stands at the gate, a stranger, young, with an attentive gaze. Hello, Liam says, trying to keep his voice steady. My name is Liam. I'd like to convey a request to Mr. Kim Jun, or Mr. Taeyong, about a school project. The man looks at him, expressionless. Then he speaks into a small device on his sleeve. He waits for an answer. He nods. Wait, he tells Lim. Liam waits. A minute. 2. He looks at the sidewalk he washed on the first day. It's still clean. Taeyong emerges from the gate. He looks the same as always. Liam, you've finished your work here, he says without preamble. I know, this isn't about work. It's for school. Liam briefly explains the project. I need to understand how security and order are organized in a private home. Not just generalities, but practical principles. I'd like to ask a few questions. If possible, Taeyong listens silently. His expression doesn't change. Mr. Kim Jun is busy, and he doesn't give interviews to students, he finally says. I understand, Liam says quickly, sensing the opportunity slipping away. Perhaps you, or Mr. Jin Ho? I don't need names or details. I need the basics. How a schedule is set, how decisions are made, how discipline is maintained. Taeyong looks at him for a long moment. Then he turns. Wait here. Don't move. He leaves. Liam remains under the guard's watchful gaze at the gate. 10 minutes pass. 15. Liam already thinks it's all over, that he's been so late for dinner and upset his mother for nothing. The gate opens again. It's not Taeyong who steps out. It's Jin Ho. He's wearing the same simple work clothes. In his hands, he's holding a stack of blue sheets of paper, held together with a paperclip. Taeyong told me about your project, the old man says hoarsely. The boss said that since you've been on call all summer, you might know the basics. But not the interview. He hands Lim a stack of papers. They're not documents. They're a few sheets of paper, covered in neat, almost calligraphic handwriting. Diagrams, simple tables. These are internal instructions for new recruits. General, no specifics. About the daily routine, areas of responsibility, the chain of command, and about observation, how to see without being seen, how to remember, how to report, things you'll need for your research, and for life, maybe. Liam takes the sheets of paper. He's stunned. Thank you. Thank you so much. Don't thank me. This isn't a gift. This is closure. You got what you wanted. Now you go your own way. Understood? Jinho's gaze is firm, but not hostile. Understood, Liam says. And that book, read it. Not for school. For yourself. Jinho nods to the guard and, without saying goodbye, walks back through the gate. Liam walks home, clutching the blue sheets tightly to his chest. He feels not triumph, but something else. A sense of a completed exchange. He had invaded their order with an explosion. They had responded with a summer of work. He had come asking for knowledge. They had given him instructions. Clearly, without further ado, the deed was done. At home, Amira greets him with a worried look. Well, everything's fine. They gave me the materials for the project, he says, holding up the sheets of paper. Amira looks at the diagram, where arrows show the movement of people around the area. She shakes her head. I don't understand you, and I don't understand them. I don't understand everything either, Liam admits, but now I know how to ask. He sits down at the table and begins reading the instructions. They are written in surprisingly simple language. Observation is the foundation of safety. Seeing is not the same as looking. Notice details, but don't linger. Remember, your goal is not to stand out, but to be part of the picture. It reminds him of his lessons from the summer. A few days later, he hands in the project. He doesn't mention Kim Jun, the house, or any specific people. He talks about the general principles of running a small private service, a clear schedule, division of responsibilities, the importance of discipline and unobtrusive supervision. He even draws a simplified diagram on the board using those sheets of paper. The class listens without much interest. The topic is dry, but the teacher, Mrs. Alina, looks at him with obvious respect. An unusually mature analysis for someone your age, Liam. It's clear you've approached the matter seriously. Where did you get such knowledge? From personal experience, Liam answers honestly. He adds nothing more. The project gets a perfect score. Liam places the blue sheets and the project printout into the same dark blue cover of the book Kim Jun gave him. It makes a thick folder. He places it on the shelf. Sometimes, especially on quiet evenings, he goes to the window. The house next door is still the same. Blank walls, dark windows. But Liam no longer wonders what's going on inside. He imagines. He imagines Jin Ho walking with a box of food, Taeyong checking his schedule, Sang reading a book in the car, and a man in a simple office, drinking tea and thinking about the neighborhood's running water. This knowledge doesn't make home friendly. It makes it real. And reality is always more complex, scarier, and more interesting than fiction. Liam turns away from the window, takes a blue book from the shelf, and opens it to a new page. Ahead lie lessons, ordinary life, boring and wonderful moments. But now he has the key to understanding another world. And this key is not for opening a door, but for knowing how such doors work, and to decide for himself whether to knock on them someday or not. Several weeks pass. The blue book and the rolled-up blue sheets sit on the shelf. Liam opens them occasionally, but not every day anymore. School life has consumed him with renewed vigor, but he approaches it differently now. He doesn't strive to be at the center, nor is he afraid of being on the edge. He's simply present, observing. This skill, honed over the summer, is becoming second nature. One day during physical education class, the teacher, Mr. Gordiev, appoints two of the most athletic and aggressive boys, Sasha and Denise, as captains. They have to pick teams for a game of pioneer ball. The usual chaos ensues. The captains shout out the names of their friends. The strong players are quickly picked. The weaker and quieter ones are left for later. Liam stands aside. No one is rushing to choose him. He's not a sports star. He views his classmates not as friends or rivals, but as a resource. He sees that Sasha's players are all fast but short and love to attack. Denise has chosen all the tall ones, but they're slow. He sees two girls, always picked last, whispering and looking down at their feet. One of them, Anya, solved a difficult problem at the board last week in math class that no one else had ever solved. She's calm and calculating. Liam's turn. Denise takes him over simply because he's standing closer. Liam approaches his team. Our strength is defense and height, he quietly tells Denise, as the teacher explains the rules. Their strength is speed. If we just hit the ball back, they'll run and make mistakes. We need to force them to play by our rules. High balls into the far corner. Dennis looks at him in surprise. Liam usually keeps quiet. Seriously? Just try it. Give me the first serve. I'll send it not to the center, but over there. Liam nods almost imperceptibly toward the corner of the court, where Sasha's shortest and most agile player, who likes to rush forward, stands. Dennis shrugs. Okay, serve. Liam catches the ball, and as he said, sends it not over the center of the net, but in a high arc to the far left corner. Sasha's player, caught off guard, runs, trips, and the ball falls. A point for Dennis's team. The game continues. Liam doesn't make flashy serves. He makes accurate ones. He notices who on the opposing team is tired, who's angry and losing concentration, who's out of position. He whispers short phrases to Denise. Serve the new guy, he's nervous. Their defense has shifted to the right, throw to the left. Denise's team, which usually loses, wins 15-10. Everyone is surprised. Denise pats Liam on the back. You're such a strategist. Liam simply nods. He doesn't feel the joy of victory. He feels satisfaction that his analysis was correct. It's the same job as cleaning a sidewalk. See a problem, find a solution, and execute. The tools are just different. Cho, the same elderly woman, is coming towards him from the entrance of their building. She is carrying the same heavy bag. Liam stops. Mrs. Cho, let me help you. She smiles tiredly. Thank you, boy. You are Amira's son, right? Liam, yes. He takes the bag. It is indeed heavy. You have become so sedate, she remarks, walking next to him. Not like the little brats of today. Liam doesn't know what to answer. They go up to her floor. He puts the bag by the door. Thank you. You are kind. Like that uncle from the top floor, he helped me last week. Liam understands that she is talking about Kim Jun. Does he help often? He asks cautiously. Sometimes. He helps when he sees. He doesn't say anything unnecessary. A respectful man. Mrs. Cho nods. Although he looks stern. It looks good inside. Liam goes down to his room. The old woman's words stick in his head. Stern exterior, nice inside. For her, it's all simple. For him, it's not. He saw the mechanism. He saw how a respectful man gives orders with a single glance that make people freeze. Where's the truth here? Perhaps it's that there is no truth. There are actions. Some are for the old woman with the bags. Others are for those who violate boundaries. At home, Amira is preparing dinner. She looks worried. Liam, is everything okay at school? Mrs. Alina called today. Liam is wary. A teacher doesn't call without a reason. And she said that you show unusual maturity and analytical skills, but also that you've become very withdrawn. Too quiet. She asks if we had any problems over the summer. Liam sits down at the table. What did you answer? That you worked a lot over the summer and matured. But, she sighs. I also think you've become too withdrawn. You hardly see the kids. You read that strange book and your papers. You've become different. Badly different? Liam asks. No. Amira sits down opposite him. You've become responsible, reliable, but you're no longer a child. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I can't go back, Mom. I can't pretend I didn't see what I saw. I can't forget how to work to get the right result. It's a part of me now. Amira looks at him, and resignation appears in her eyes. She's not fighting him. She's fighting the fact that her boy hasn't grown up the way she expected, raised under someone else's harsh, alien rules. Okay, she says quietly. Then just remember, whatever you become, here you can simply be a son. Not a worker, not a strategist, just a son. Okay? Okay, Liam says. And for the first time in a long time, he feels the taut string inside him loosen slightly. Later that evening, as darkness falls outside, he approaches his window again. A light comes on in a third-floor window in the neighboring building. Not the bright overhead light, but a warm, yellowish glow. Perhaps a table lamp. Liam imagines there might be a room there, perhaps the very one from which the laughter was coming. He looks at the light. It's no longer a symbol of a terrible secret. It's simply a light in a window. The person who lives there might be reading or thinking or looking in their own direction. The world isn't black and white. It's made up of shades, of actions, of duty, and the occasional favor to an old lady, of discipline, and the quiet laughter behind the wall. Liam steps away from the window. He takes his algebra notebook from the shelf. Tomorrow's a test. He needs to solve the problems, step by step, how to clean the sidewalk, how to strategize in a game, how to pay for mistakes, how to live on, knowing a little more than others. He opens the notebook. His world has become more complex, but also stronger. Invisible lines, rules, cause and effect relationships have appeared in it, and this can no longer be erased. He can only move forward, trying not to step on others' boundaries, and remembering that every door, even the most impenetrable, can hold a key, not for breaking, but for understanding.